Hello and welcome to Week 9 preview from Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. Unfortunately, Paul couldn't make it today, so you've just got me and Byron on this scary day of Halloween. So Byron, how you doing? Week 9 here. I think the most important question, what's Charlie dressing up for Halloween?
He's not this year.
Ah.
He really hates it, truthfully. Last year we done the Joker and Batman. I don't know if I've sent you that picture. I will do after this call. If not, though, because my Batman mask didn't fit and I look like a pug-nosed Batman. It was absolutely horrendous. I sat on a Teams call for like an hour and could barely see the screen because the mask didn't fit my face at all. So it was like here for our video viewers. And then the nose was really pulled up. But Chai looked pretty cute as a Joker. We won cutest contest, cutest costume at my work.
Nice.
But yeah, I think Chai done the heavy lifting. We had another work call today, so I dressed up as a zombie. I think instead of being zombie, I'll be zombie. But yeah, my work just like we're like, oh yeah, remote people, we're not doing anything for you actually. So see ya. And he was like, oh, okay, cheers, that's cool. So yeah, Cindy dressed me up like a zombie for like an hour, and then I was like, okay, can we just take it off now? Because I'm not doing the podcast for a few more hours. And and she was like, well, do you want to just wear your thing on the show? And I was like, I don't think Joe's going to, so it'll look a bit weird, won't it? So yeah, I'll send him my zombie costume as well. But yeah, no Charlie outfit, but we'll have a Charlie pick to come for tonight. So we'll see what he's fancying in the Texans Jets.
Yeah, see if he makes that scary pick of the. Not tonight, tomorrow. I'm going to a Halloween party tomorrow. So yeah, not today. Wasn't in work, so yeah.
What's the costume gonna be?
I'm doing. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows? The TV show.
So I know it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, one of the vampires from there. So we'll see how it turns out.
Nice.
Yeah, so it should be fun. So let's talk about the NFL. We more or less at the halfway stage after this weekend. It's a fairly scary slate of games. There's a few games which is a bit ghoulish, a bit not great teams, but it's NFL anyway, so we can't complain. So let's dive in to the first games, which is on Sky. So the first one in the early afternoon slate is the 5-3 Denver Broncos at the 5-3 Baltimore Ravens. So yeah, Byron, where do you think this is won and lost, and where do you see this game going?
I think this is a really interesting matchup. I don't think the Broncos have been quite as good as their record indicates, but I mean, I was someone who had the Broncos potentially getting the first pick overall in 2025. So maybe I'm just a little biased, truthfully. I think Sean Payton's done a great coaching job this year. Again, I was really harsh on Sean Payton last year when he done, to me, a bad job. So maybe not harsh, just, blunt, maybe might be a better word. But yeah, I mean, they're 5-3 right now. The same record as the Ravens, which, to go in as 9.5-point underdogs, I think is, it says a lot about what people think of the Ravens, I guess, never rather than just a record. But they did start 0-2, and I think they've been bouncing back since then. On our ATS, I've gone the Ravens on this one. It is kind of narrative-y, I will admit. It just feels like it's kind of a get right for the Ravens after last week. I think Lamar's going to come out singing. They've just added Deontay Johnson, which I don't really understand the trade value there. So essentially, the Panthers gave up a 6th and Deontay Johnson for the Ravens' 5th. And I mean, even when you're counting compensatory picks, that's going to be what? 20 picks, 15 picks in the end of the 5th round. That seems wild. I can't believe nobody would give more than that. Even just a 5th round by itself, I would have thought you'd probably get for Deontay Johnson, a fine wide receiver. Even if it is only a half a season rental, there's so many teams who are wide receiver needy. When we spoke earlier in the week, I thought the Bucs would be a prime candidate to play that Chris Godwin role that he'd been playing. I think he's a great fit for it. So, but as we often say in the NFL, the rich get richer. So now they have Derrick Henry, they've got Keaton Mitchell coming back in the running game, obviously Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman having a career year, and you add Deontay Johnson to that mix. It's very hard to cover. My bet for this game, I've gone Derrick Henry 100+ rushing yards. I think this could be a back and forth game. I have gone the Ravens to cover the 9.5, but I think this could be a high scoring game with that in mind. Ravens defense is pretty bad, especially against the pass. So yeah, I can foresee this one going back and forth. But yeah, I think Derrick Henry's they need to lean on him. We talked about this again after the Browns game of you just can't get away from it. That has to be your identity, and all those great pass catchers are going to have to play second fiddle and, utilize what you have.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, I was a bit surprised with that trade as well. How they didn't get too much. I don't know if it's saying something that obviously you got, chased out of Steelers when Steelers have got no wide receivers, and he felt like the Panthers just wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But, Ravens are that kind of organizations where they don't if any of that shit happens there, they're just like, well, you can just sit on the side. And because they're not desperate for him as well, I think it's a good place for him. So, yeah, waking up as a Panthers, and he didn't play last week, which I don't think was probably, she should have been an indication he was gone. And now he's in Baltimore. I'm sure he's a happy guy, and they'll get in there. I'm curious how they're using him, because I think he's very similar to Zay Flowers, but I think he gets open a bit more. I think he's a better route runner, so I'll see how that'll work. And Lamar Jackson started probably the best he's ever started. It feels like, even like his MVP years, I don't think he started as well as this as the overall quarterback itself. So yeah, I've actually gone for the Broncos. I think it's going to be tighter just because Broncos defense has been good, but I am also cautious that when you look at the teams who they have played, I think they've had the 27th hardest offensive schedule. When you look at the teams that have played the last few weeks, Panthers, Saints, the Chargers, they lost to, who are not a juggernaut on offense, the Raiders and Jets. So it's not been scary teams. I think the most probably impressive one is when they beat the Bucs and kept them to 7 with how the Bucs have been playing. So it's a good game for the Denver, especially the defense, to show that, we are actually legit. We are actually one of the top 3 defenses, and we can do it against the best teams, because that's the only way they're going to win. Yeah. I don't think Bo Nix is going to, if it's a shootout, I don't think he'll keep up. I think it's going to be a tight game. And just see how it goes. And we'll see, because obviously Baltimore's had a few injuries, and they've got a few cornerbacks coming back. I think Humphreys and their rookie cornerback is coming back from injury. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I just say my bet is for Cortland Sutton to get over 4.5 receptions, a plus 130. I feel like the last few weeks he's started to become the number one target for Bo Nix, and even with it was Wiggins as a cornerback. Even with him coming back, it's still not an amazing secondary. And I think they're going to have to throw, because the run defense is one of the best in the league for the Ravens. So they'll probably target Sutton a lot. And I might double that with some yards. I haven't hit how many yards yet. And Paul's gone for the Broncos plus 9.5. So he's leaning with the Broncos ATS. And a fun fact here. So Bo Nix has gone 4-0 against the spread on the road to start his career. There's only a few who have actually gone 5-0 the last. So from
rookies.
2008 rookies, who have gone 5-0 on the road against the spread. If you could name any of them, Byron, I'll be impressed.
All right. Well, first one is Dak Prescott.
That's one.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Now we get tough. Joe Burrow?
No, but he is 4-0 against spread this year. He's the only other quarterback with on the road against the spread. Really,
since 2008, who has been rookies that early? About Joe Flacco?
No, not Joe Flacco. So it might not just be rookies; they're their first year as a starter. From that beginning. So that might have made it a bit obvious. No, there's like the best quarterback probably there's ever been.
Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Yeah.
One is the Andy Dalton went 5-0 as a Bengals against the spread. And I think you probably would never have got this. Dan Orlevsky went 7-0 in his first 7 on the road starts. So that was from 2008 to 2011 when he actually played on the road. He went 7-0 against the spread.
You are 100% right. I would not have.
Yeah.
We'd have sat here till tomorrow, and I wouldn't have said Dan Orlevsky. So.
Great question. I'm guessing it was one of them where it was the spreads were quite big for when Dan Orlevsky was started his career anyway. This should be a great game. I think just for the Broncos themselves, it's prove it on both sides. So defense and is Bo Nix actually a capable quarterback, which he's shown the last few weeks. So it should be really interesting. Just looking at the money, so it looks like a lot of people have gone for the Ravens to win, but quite a lot of most of the money and bets have gone for the Broncos to actually cover. So 65% of the money has gone for the Broncos to cover the spread. Have you got any opinion on the over and under at 46.5?
I'd probably lean the over, but I don't think I'll be taking it in our draft.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
That's what. I think I'll probably go over as well. I said it was going to be a low-scoring game, but I think he's still going to get up there in terms of. I think the Broncos are going to keep it close, and then it's really the fourth quarter where I feel like he could explode. So at 46.5, it was lower than I expected with the Ravens being part. So I'd probably go just over, but similar to you, I would not be touching that. And and I'm guessing a lot of people went for the Broncos as well, because Lamar Jackson as a home favorite doesn't do quite so well against the spread. Yeah. So as an underdog, the past 5 years, he's 7-1 against the spread, but he's 19, 22-1 as a favorite, and that is include 8, 19-1 when he's favored by more than 3 points. So
against the spread or straight up?
Against the spread.
Okay, cool. I was like,
so over 3 points. Yeah, it's not that bad, but still, and it feels very Ravensy. Yeah, it's very Ravensy that it feels like when they're the big favorites, they don't show out, but when they're big underdogs and we bet against them, they absolutely trounce teams. So it's should be a fun game. So let's move on to the second Sky game. So the late afternoon game, which I would say is the best game of this week. Hopefully, injuries aside, if everyone plays, and that is the 6-1 Detroit Lions traveling to play the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau. I'll just start off. It's obviously Goff's first time in 2024 playing outside, and it's going to be raining. So do you think that's going to affect him as much as what people are saying, Byron?
I mean, I don't think it's a good thing for him, to be straightforward about it, I guess. How much it'll impact him, I'm not too sure, because I think one of the things the Lions have done really well this year, and Ben Johnson in particular, is, they've kept Goff within his limitations, which is huge. Obviously, he's been playing really well, but he's been asked to do things he can do, which seems really obvious and really simple, but, we see plenty of quarterbacks put in situations that aren't like that, and it's kind of square pegs, round holes, whereas Jared Goff is a round peg in a round hole or a square peg in a square hole. Ben Johnson's just using him really well. They have obviously a really great running back combination that you can lean on in any game. And I think that might be the case here, because it just makes good sense too. The Packers have ball hawks in the secondary who are, especially Javier McKinney, who feels like has got an interception every single week. I think he might have missed one, but he's pretty much every week. And he'll be looking for Goff, I'm sure. So I think there might be a run-heavy scheme here for the Lions, going in as favourites to Green Bay, and especially the case if Malik Willis plays, because Malik Willis is 2-0, and Malik Willis has been way better than any of us expected, but he's still not Jordan Love, and he's still not going to put 30 points, I'm pretty sure. So if the Lions don't feel the need to score touchdowns every drive, I think that's much more leads into the run-heavy approach.
Yeah, it was a surprising... been 3.5, and I think a lot of this is still up to see if Love plays. I'll be curious if he is out, if that line changes quite a lot. I'm not sure, because he didn't practice yesterday, but he did say that there is a chance for him playing on Sunday, and just how he was speaking, it feels like he will. But if he's like not fully fit, which I don't know if he will be, do you really want to playing in a cold, wet weather against this Detroit Lions? I'm not sure. But what's good about the Packers, and this is why I like Matt LaFleur, it's the fact that if you told me at the start of the season Malik Willis was starting this game, I'd be like, oh God, this game's going to be rough.
Yeah.
But he's actually, when he's played the 2.5 games, he's actually looked surprisingly really good. I think the biggest stat I found was that he's recorded 0 turnover worthy plays on his 53 dropbacks.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, no one would have said that for the Malik Willis, which was in Tennessee. So
No.
I think it's been in a franchise where they can cope with the quarterback going down. Obviously not for the full season, but for these kind of games.
Yeah.
So it should be a fun game. I think it's going to be a run-heavy game. Similar, I think both teams are going to lean on the run, just with the weather and just how they play. The Lions, they averaged 175 rushing yards against Packers when they played them last year, both of them games. And it feels like the Packers are going to run quite a bit as well. Just when you think of this Lions defense, it's surprising. Probably the back end is the strength now with Hutchinson going down, and the two safeties for the Lions. I think that they're the highest graded safety tandem, and I think they've got 9 interceptions between them. Yeah. So it's one of them games where you've got McKinney with 6 interceptions leading the league, and then I think you've got it's either Joseph or Branch. One's got 5 and one's got 4. So it's like the leaders in interceptions are playing. So yeah, it's a lot of good pieces. 2 good teams. We rank them first for the Lions in our power rankings and 5 for the Packers. So I think this is a huge game for that NFC North. And I think whoever wins this will be the fit. Even if the Packers win, I would put them. If they beat this Goff team and if they do it Malik Wilson, you can bet they might be the favourites to actually win that division now, just with how the team's playing as a whole. So yes, I think it's big if Love's in and out. I think Goff's got an injury. Is on the injury report as well, but it seems like he's going to be playing. So it should be fun. So I'll just shout out Paul's bet. So he's got the Lions -3.5. So to cover the spread, to be winning in Lambeau, and to cover the spread. And I've got Romeo Doubs, a first half touchdown scorer, a +500. I do think that has become their main target, and he's having big games after being in the doghouse. So I do like that bet. A lot of the lines are not available at the minute. I'm guessing with Jordan Love not being there, so there's probably quite a few other bets I might go in this game. So especially with Josh Jacobs, but we'll see where we go. I don't know if you want to shout your bet out for this game.
Yeah. So again, with a lack of lines, it's kind of tough to get exactly what you'd want on. But I've gone for Bates and McManus to have over 1.5 field goals. I just think again might be a tight game and might be a game where you're not necessarily needing touchdowns if if it isn't Jordan Love especially. So and I do think there's more chance they are cautious with Jordan Love because we've got the bye week next week, Green Bay. So I think it's even less reason to rush him and further niggle his injury and potentially rule him out for the season if he tears his groin. When it is just one game, I know it is an important in-division game, but you've got a few of them to come as well in the second half of the season. So if I was Green Bay, I would need to be 100% sure that he's right to play before I put him in. Because like we said, Malik Willis has looked absolutely competent playing. I do have a couple of trivias for you if you're interested. I know we don't have
go for it.
To fill in. But so the Lions as favourites in Lambeau Field are 5-1 all time, which is kind of surprising. I mean, I'm surprised they've been favourites 6 times, to be fair. One was last year. Their most recent loss, they lost 45-41 the last day of the 2011 season. Do you know who the Green Bay quarterback was?
Well, I'm guessing it wasn't Rodgers.
It wasn't. Rodgers was rested because Green Bay had already secured their seeding. And he got paid millions off the back of this game.
I'm not sure then. I was trying to think of like the shit backups they had, which we saw quite a few like on Thanksgiving and stuff. But no, I can't think who the Packers was.
Well, he wasn't a bad backup. It was Matt Flynn. So he went 31 out of 44 for 480 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And then he got paid an absolute butt ton, I'm not sure the exact number, to go to Seattle and immediately got built up by rookie Russell Wilson in training camp. And I don't know if he ever played for the Seahawks, actually, but he ended up like kind of flittering around the league. I think he might have went to Oakland at some point, but yeah, that was his obviously highlight of his thing. A late inactive for Rodgers to rest him because their seed had been secured. But
Got to play with that money.
Yeah, and then he absolutely got paid a bank. And I do have another trivia question on the same kind of theme. When the Lions have been favored by 3 or more going into Green Bay, they are 2-1 all time, but they haven't won there since December 15, 91. Do you know what the UK number 1 was on December 15, 91? Were you alive?
I was just born, so I know it was. I know it was on my birthday. So the 2 weeks before was Michael Jackson, Black and White.
That was a US number 1 at the time.
Okay. And it was Bryan Adams before that.
Yeah, and this, I'll give you a little clue. This was the second time this single was number 1.
Was it Bohemian Rhapsody? Was it Queen?
My man, yes.
I only know that because Freddie died day after I was born.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. So yeah, it was Bo Rap for the second time. December 15, 91. That's all my fun fact trivia for this game.
So yeah. Great. Yeah, fun game to watch. Yeah, can't wait. It's against, I think, big players either side. And yeah, it's probably the 2 head coaches who are leading the head coach of the awards. And I'll chuck a fact out since you chucked a few out. So Matt LaFleur as a underdog against the spread is 24-11, so 69%, which is the best percentage for any coach in the Super Bowl era.
Wow.
While Dan Campbell is 45-25 against the spread as a coach of the Lions and Dolphins, so the 64%, which is the best for a head coach of minimum of 20 games in the Super Bowl era. So it's 2 coaches who do well against the spread, going head to head as they do, and they're both in the same division. So how fun for us in the NFC North, but maybe not for Bears and Vikings fans. But
yeah, not so much. And I think Dan Quinn might want to have a word about the coach of the year argument there.
Well, I was saying it's the top 2, so them 2 will be. I think they'll be fighting who gets that. So I think if Malik Willis plays and they win again, so win 3 games with Malik Willis, I think that's just automatically.
Yeah, it'll put them up. But
yeah,
I mean, for what Washington are doing, I think.
Of course, yeah.
Dan Quinn would be like, "Hello, this was the worst team in
football."
But yeah,
right. Let's move on to the Sunday night games, so the primetime games in Week 9. So this one, yeah, it's I would say last week there wasn't much about this one, but there was some big news during the week. So it's the Colts, who are underdogs, 5.5 points underdog against the Minnesota Vikings. So yeah, the big news which came out this week was Anthony Richardson got benched for ever-reliant Joe Flacco. Yeah, what did you think of the decision? Because we chatted about it, and I think me and you didn't think it would happen, but obviously they've just thought, let's try and win this year. So yeah, do you think it was the right decision? And yeah, where do you see this going for the Colts?
I think the more that's came out since the tired gate, I guess, I think that's more damning than Anthony Richardson's play in terms of the locker room and in terms of the kind of perception, and maybe because I do think the Colts do have an owner who, a bit like Jerry Jones and a few owners, likes to have their 2 cents be heard in terms of how the playing operations go. And I don't think Jim Irsay, from what I understand, has taken the reaction to Anthony Richardson's comments particularly well. And I think there's a little bit of I don't necessarily think it's a wrong decision. I don't really know what I would do, I will say, because I don't think it's really it's tough because you don't only develop by playing football, but I do think that's the best way to develop quarterbacks. There is, obviously, you look at Jordan Love, and he's been really good after sitting for 3 years behind someone who went MVP twice, though, to be fair. I'm not saying Joe Flacco isn't somebody you don't want to learn behind, because Joe Flacco's been a great quarterback in his career. But I think ideally you'd want Richardson to be playing. Obviously, that's why they were playing him. I think it does help them win in the short term. I do just kind of worry about what is a long-term plan here. And I think there might be a little bit here of, Chris Ballard, when he took over as a GM, he was really highly touted and he never seems to get much of a knock. And I kind of understood for a little bit in the short term because, Andrew Luck retires on you out of nowhere. That's tough to recover from. if Patrick Mahomes retires in the summer, I expect the Chiefs will take a little while to bounce back from it. I'm not saying he's Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes is relatively comparable. I think Andrew Luck was probably on the Hall of Fame trajectory the way he played. But eventually that goodwill does run off. In 7 years, the Colts haven't won the division. And I think there may be a little bit of Chris Ballard's playing for his job. And, I'm not saying it's playoffs or bust because Jim Irsay, I think, is pretty volatile. And I don't necessarily think anything that comes in October matters come January. But I think making the playoffs would really help his future prospects. Shane Steichen, I don't imagine, is on much of a hot seat because from where they were when he came in with the 4th overall pick, the rookie missed his entire rookie year. They're now starting Joe Flacco quarterback again. That's not an ideal quarterback trajectory. And I think for the most part, Steichen's done a really good job and gets the best out of what he has. I just think this might be more of a GM ownership decision than coaching. I could be wrong, obviously. I think it'll be interesting. They kind of said it's not close the door on Anthony Richardson, which of course they're going to say. But, Joe Flacco, we've just seen this happen in Carolina. Andy Dalton isn't, an Iron Man. These older quarterbacks can get injured as easy as anyone else. I just kind of worry if Joe Flacco goes down really soon, what's the state of the Colts offense? What is the state of Anthony Richardson?
I would say the Colts next 3 games are against really tough defenses. So I wonder if that also played a part. I think being Flacco, being your backup and what he did last year puts more pressure. If it was just some of these other backups, what teams have, they would have no way have gone there. And I think, and also going 4-4, if they were 2-6, then I wonder if this Packers is this season's done. So the fact that managed to go 4-4, which I think speaks a lot about Shane Steichen as a head coach, that he's actually done well with what is being given. I think that was a big decision. And I think they had to say, it's Joe Flacco's job until something happens. I don't think they could have said, we're just going to take him out for one game and do that. Because I don't think that would have helped anyone. But yes, the Colts have got obviously the Vikings, which defense look decent. They've got the Bills and Jets and then Lions. They're the next 4 games. So maybe just see how Flacco goes there. If he obviously wins 2 of them games, then you're going to keep him in. If he loses all 4 and you're 4-8, then it's easy to go back to Richardson and be let's see what we've got. Only thing I would disagree with you, I think his on-field hasn't helped as well. Obviously, there's the issue with what he said, but when you just look at some of the numbers in terms of how he's playing, it's either a huge throw down the field and big plays, or it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I just, some stats I saw it was, so entering this week, he's 44.4% completion percentage on 33 passes. So since 2000, it's the 4th lowest through the first 8 games. Yeah. And, his company is Derek Anderson, Josh Freeman, and Akili Smith. And when you look at his whole career, it's only a 50% completion. And that's around with Tim Tebow, Anthony Wright, Mike McCann, and Blaine Gabbert. So if you're in their kind of company, should you get a longer leash just because when he came in, he was green. He's got that. People thought he had the potential, but I've also heard reports that apparently he wasn't a good quarterback that in high school or that good in college. So it's one of them where it's you project because of his athletic ability. But there's sometimes where it's he just hasn't got it. And I think right now, I don't know how he gets better that way, just because I feel like a lot of the quarterbacks who, not even amazing quarterbacks, the ones who franchise quarterbacks, you see it, you see something, or at least they can do this kind of throws. There's been a lot of quarterbacks who've been in a terrible situation, but he's not in a terrible situation, I don't think, when Joe Flacco is taking over. So
the only positive comp, and you see this all the time, and I'm not saying I think Anthony Richardson's going to be a franchise quarterback. I just don't want to put dirt on him already with how few games he's played. But it's always striking when the only positive comparison is Josh Allen, because Josh Allen is such an outlier. And you see real Anthony Richardson stands on Twitter of well, if Josh Allen can do it, it's but
But Josh Allen was decent when he started. He wasn't what he is now, but he wasn't.
It was inaccurate.
Yeah, but he was still like winning games 50%. And stuff.
I think he actually had the worst win-loss than Anthony Richardson has.
Oh, well, fair enough.
But if you can only find one example who was a positive in all these bad ones, like you said, Tim Tebow, I forget your other names you said, but I've seen the list. It's terrible. If you could just circle one good one and say, well, he'll be fine, then I don't think you're doing a good job of predictive analysis, truthfully, because the chances of any player coming into the league and being as inaccurate as Josh Allen are and becoming Josh Allen are 1 in a fucking million, because it just doesn't happen. I think the Bills went 6-10, Josh Allen's first year, and they were willing to eat that. I think the Colts would have been willing to eat it last year if they were losing, but like you said, because they're in a good position and they're only 2 games back. And
I think,
Josh Allen, no play ever can. I'm too tired to play.
Well, exactly. And I think last year, because there wasn't that much tape, but he looked electric, and you thought, he could be, he's going to make that step, but he's not made a step whatsoever. It's worse than what it was last year. But the problem is he didn't play enough last year to say, is it a step down, or is it just who he was last year, and he's just had a few good games and a few electric plays.
Yeah, and I think the kind of like the fantasy heads of it as well is like treating that as like, well, he's got this flaw of being like a great rushing player. All he needs to do is learn how to pass the ball. And like, they're not even doing the rushing with him now. It feels like to me, Shane Steichen's kind of scheming a drop back passer, and he doesn't have one. So like, he has one in Flacco, so I understand the change in that sense as well. But I'm not saying Steichen necessarily needs to scheme to the quarterback he has. He needs to win games. So it feels like it's just not been a great fit this year. I did look at again, somebody posted the tape of a lot of the drops on Sunday, and I thought, you know what, this isn't all on Richardson either. Like, a lot of them plays are like like they're hitting the receivers in the hands. Like, and again, it's not a great pass catching group either, but Flacco will get more out of them. He will also throw a lot more, and he will be more accurate. But I was really surprised when I seen some of them drops on Sunday. That was like, Jesus Christ, he has not been helped out by his receivers here. I guess it's kind of a long way. I did have one really fun fact. This is not mine. This was from, I think I found it on Reddit. Let me see if I got the thing here for it. Was it? Yeah, this was from Reddit. Anthony Richardson has a 44.4% completion rate that you already mentioned. This completion percent would be good enough to rank him 13th out of 14 quarterbacks if you were playing in 1966, the first season of the NFL merger, which I thought was so fucking good. Yeah, so even if you go back to 1966, he does not have good comparisons in an era where you know, the pass catching game in the NFL was not what it is now. And
I can imagine
my favorite fact I read for the week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, let's chat about the game then. So they're going to the Vikings, who started off hot 5-0, but lost the last 2. 5.5 difference. The Vikings made a trade this week as well, which I thought was a nice trade. They got left tackle Cam Robinson from the Jaguars, and I think it was just some late round pick swaps next year, maybe the year after. But yeah, so they got him in because Christian Darrisaw injured and he's out for the year, which is a shame because he was playing really well and that line was looking good. And when David Quessenberry came in, there was a reason why the Titans, who were the worst offensive line, released him last year or got rid of him last year. It made sense. Yeah. So they got Cam Robinson, who's a reliable left tackle, and he's played a lot of games for the Jags. I thought it was a good pick. And yeah, I think it's a bounce back game for the Vikings. I think it's big for them both ways. I think the offense has been very up and down, like against the Rams. They started on house of fire, but then they have patches where nothing seems to happen. But they can't get things going with everything. There was obviously the news Jordan Addison wasn't too pleased with what his role is. I think he put like 3-4 or 3-4, whatever his number is. He had like, basically what the evil wide receivers do when they don't get a few catches. That not too happy. So I think it's a big game, and I think it's a big game for the defense as well for the Vikings, because the last 2 weeks has not been great. I think they've conceded 30 points in both. Obviously, again, they started off great, top of the charts, but the last 2 weeks have been in the bottom third of defenses. So it's a big game for them to get back. I've lent to the Vikings. But I think it's going to be a fun game because the Colts have covered the 7-1 against the spread this year, so it was a tough one to go against. I don't know which way are you leaning for this game.
Yeah, I've leaned Vikings as well, but I agree. I think this is a really interesting matchup. And yeah, it's kind of wild with how the Vikings started to what they kind of feel now. If they don't win on Sunday, they'll go a month without a win. Their last win was October 6th in London. And that feels like forever ago, right? Like that London game, the Jets Vikings, that feels so long ago. And that's the last time they won a game. So, from a 5-0 start to, the Lions are 6-1 now, the Packers are 6-2, they're third in the division. Bears play the Cardinals, that'll be a close game. And the Vikings, if they lose, this could end up at the bottom of the division a month after being 5-0, which feels absolutely wild. I've gone for the bet here, a bit of a squeaky wheel, as you've just mentioned. Jordan Addison, longest reception, over 19.5. I think Addison's a really good player. I think he does need more work. And I think he could be I haven't had a good look at it yet, but maybe be the weekly leader shout at a big price, because I think it's always hard when you have Jefferson, obviously, because he commands so much. But Addison's one of them players, he just needs 3 or 4 catches and he can break 100 yards without much thinking, really. And I don't think he's had his real breakout this year yet. So I think it's coming. And the Vikings do have TJ Hawkinson this week, finally. Kevin O'Connell said he's not going to be on any kind of snap count. He's a full go, which he was touch and go whether he would play Thursday against the Rams. So having that extra 10 days mini buy, as I say, certainly helps. Yeah, like I say, I've leaned the Vikings on this one. The Colts, like you say, they're just sneaky. I didn't realize it was 7-1. I knew they'd been in basically every game, so it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I kind of
because obviously when they lose, I think every single game this year has been in a 1-score game. So I think even last year, I think Shane Starkins had 17 games. His first 2 years have been 1-score games either side, which helps with covering the spread when they're not like an amazing team, but they do enough just to stay in games and sneak a few. So still interesting. And I think the big news as well, they do get a few big players back. DeForest Buckner's back. EJ Speed, the linebacker, is back too. And obviously Taylor was back last week, which I think is big. They need to get that. So they all should be good to go. So yeah, I think obviously the Buckner being a former 49ers and how disruptive he is, I think he's massive. I think he's their leader on defense. And yeah, they've not, obviously me and Paul had them to get a high sack rate this year, but injuries cost them. So yeah, having that back is huge, and we'll see how the new offensive line copes with that. So yeah, so the bet I've gone for, so both routes could hit, but hopefully they get. I've got Jefferson at 8+ receptions and 100-yard game. I had one similar last weekend against the Rams, and I think he hit it in the first half. It was just like you can't stop him. And I think this Colts is even a worse defense than that Rams. So I think Jefferson's going to eat, and it's going to be a fun game. And yeah, Paul's got it over 46.5, which is a line which, if it's anything like the last game, then if you can remember what the last game was, the Jeff Saturday special when the Colts were leading. Yeah. When they were 33-point deficit and the Vikings came all the way back. I think it was 33 points in the third quarter or something like that. So
very fun game.
It should be a good game. And interesting fact, the Vikings are super happy that this is at home, as they've never won a road game against the Colts, either in Baltimore or Indianapolis.
Wow, great one. Love that.
Which is nuts when you think about some teams who have never beat a certain stadium. So yeah, we're in for a fun one now, especially with all these changes. And yes, I think whoever wins this is definitely going to come out, pretty positive going forward. And the team who loses it is going to be, from being in a positive spot to dark times and certainly slipping down our power rankings. So let's move to the Monday Night Football, which I think is a bit the opposite. Again, 3 or 4 weeks ago, this looked like it was going to be a really fun, interesting matchup, and there could have been a lot of interesting tales. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are traveling to the unbeaten Kansas City Chiefs. I think what's the spread's quite big. It's 9 points. So yes, the Bucs +9. So Were you shocked at how big the spread was, how the Chiefs have been playing, and obviously the injuries and whatnot to the Bucks, but 9 seems a lot for this Chiefs team.
Yeah, I thought it'd be closer to 7. I know it's relatively close to 7. Obviously, it's 9, but I thought it'd be 6.5, 7 rather than 9, which did catch me off a little. I still took the Chiefs though, so I mean I was surprised, but it wasn't enough to put me off them. I kind of just worry this Bucks might be in a bit of a tailspin. They've lost the last 2 and lost the last 2 against the spread as well, and not that those were like huge defeats. You know, they lost. I mean, losing to the Falcons the second time is a big defeat in terms of how the season goes. But I mean, they weren't blowing out in either game. They were within 10 points of the Ravens. But no Evans, no Godwin. I don't think you can run too easily on the Chiefs, and I think that's what they would have to do. And Baker Mayfield, you know, we all like Baker, I think, on the show, Paul especially. He's so hot and cold. And when he gets cold, he's dangerous in all the wrong ways. And I think, you know, he's thrown to Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, Cade Otton.
Shepard's out as well. That's
Sterling Shepard's already out.
Yeah.
Geez, so, yeah, I mean, Trey Palmer, I guess, will fill in there. And I'm running out of names. So that doesn't bode well. Yeah, I literally don't know who the wide receiver 4 would be there. So definitely should have went for Deontay Johnson. And I've kind of, I don't know, there's a little part of me, like the Chiefs are 7-0, and it doesn't feel like they've played well yet. And rather than thinking, oh, well, they're going to start losing games, I'm more inclined to think, oh, shit, they're going to really turn it on at some point soon. Hopkins has had a week in the building now. Obviously, Kelsey isn't getting any younger, but I just think that offense is getting closer to turning it on in a big way. They're probably going to get Pacheco back next week. And I just kind of think they're just going to completely blow the Bucks away here. I've gone Mahomes over 3 passing touchdowns. I think you can certainly throw on the Bucks. I think you can kind of do what you want to the Bucks at this point, though. You know, Veyer and Kancey are a good pair on DT, but as long as you don't run up the middle, you can run everywhere else, I think. So 9 is a lot, and it was more than I expected, but I've still took the Chiefs. Like you say, I've took Mahomes 3+ touchdowns. And touching on the hot and cold, your bet kind of plays into that on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I've got Mayfield 2+ INTs. I was tempted to go for both quarterbacks, but every time I've done that, one of them gets one, and then the other one should be intercepted. But I think just the betting gods are against me, so the DBs decide to just drop it for no reasons. But yeah, so like both of these. So yes, Mayfield's got the most passing touchdowns this year, but he's also tied with Mahomes and Jordan Love for the most interceptions. So that shows that he's certainly going to be giving it up and without his main target. Also, for the Chiefs, rush defense is ranked number 2. So yeah. I don't think the Bucks are going to, because I think one of the Bucks' strengths is that running game, and especially on first and second down to try and get manageable throwing downs. And I think both these teams are the best on third down conversions, but I feel like the Bucks are going to be throwing it quite a bit, and this Chiefs team can take it away. Yeah, and obviously, like I said, with that rush defense, the pass defense is. I think that's the only way the Bucks are going to be able to win this game or keep it close is that passing game. There's a few injuries for the Chiefs in that back end. Aziz Johnson suffered a concussion last week, and the second cornerback to Trent McDuffie got picked on quite a bit, Joshua Williams. So I think they could try and pick on them, and I think it's going to be a huge Cade Otton game again. I'm definitely looking for better that because he's had 17 receptions the past 2 games, which is the most by a tight end for the Bucks over 2 games. So I think they're going to go back to him. I think it's going to be a big tight end kind of game. Yeah, but I'm hoping for a fun one. So the over Monday Night Football is 8-3. So we've had some fun Monday night. This one is at 45.5. Paul's gone the under. Obviously, he likes to see he doesn't think the Chiefs can score too many, and he's gone for the Bucks as well, similar to me. So I think it's keeping it close. But I think there might be some points. I think Baker's going to sling it, and like you said, Hopkins having another week to learn this offense. I think they could go towards that kind of game. But yeah, I've just gone the Bucks as well, just because I feel like the Chiefs never really cover against big covers.
Yeah.
That's why I went last week for the Raiders. It just feels like they love to keep it close, and they love to give the team like a sniff, and then the defense just, does what it does, and
Snuff it
then
out,
and then the score, and it's like, okay, that's the game over. So I was going to ask about Patrick Mahomes. Well, obviously, got 3. Are you worried about all the interceptions? Because he's had the most interceptions since the start of last year than any other quarterback at 23. It's a weird.
It's really weird.
Where,
and this year, he's got more interceptions than touchdowns. I think he's 8 to 9. No, not hugely, but
because he's still playing well.
I'd be like, exactly. Like, I'd be lying if I said it like it doesn't enter my mind at all. But I think, kind of like on the balance of his career, you just have to say, well, it's a bit of a blip. I don't think his players ultimately fell off too much. I think if he had better receivers, it'd be less of an issue. But he doesn't, so you can't really make that excuse going forward either, because he's not getting Rashid Rice back anytime soon, and Sky Moore isn't turning into an NFL player anytime soon either. So you are what you are. No, I'm not worried about it. I think the Chiefs are much more likely as a team and individually to just keep improving through the season. So I'd be surprised if he finishes the season with more interceptions than touchdowns, certainly.
Yep. And one good note, which probably supports your Chiefs covering, is that Mayfield on Monday Night Football has gone 1-6 against the spread. 0-5 as an underdog. The only one he won, it was his first Monday Night Football against the Jets, who had Simeon and Luke Falk as their quarterback. So Monday Night Football has not been fun for Baker Mayfield. So
Luke Falk, didn't think I'd hear his name today.
There you go. So yes, that's the main games we're going to talk about. So we're going to move on to our fourfold, and I've got the first pick, which I should have known and worked out. Cool. I'm going to go a game we haven't talked about, and one I was shocked at the line. So I'm going to go my favorite, and that's the Commanders at -3.5 against the Giants in the Giants Stadium at MetLife. I couldn't believe it's the 3.5. I have no idea why. I'm guessing the Giants have kept some games close. Their defense has actually looked good, especially at the front. But we saw against the Steelers that they might keep it close, but Daniel Jones finds ways to lose it. And so I'm going to go the Commanders +3. What do you think of that?
It was on my short list. I mean, I like it as a pick. I don't like that you took it. It was on my list. I think, again, it's kind of a slam dunk. All 3 of us are on the Commanders ATS, which might be a reason to fade it, I guess. But, I don't understand it either, really. With how the Commanders have played this year, Jaden Daniels is limited again in practice this week, but he's obviously going to play, If he played last week and didn't re-injure, then he's going to play this week. It's just how it goes. And the Giants have been, certainly on defense, better than pegged. But that O-line is porous, to say the very least. So, I have a little concern with that.
Awesome. So I'm glad I got a first pick. It felt like, it was
I don't think you're going to coming back.
No. So Paul is up next. He sent me his list, so he wants me to go his under first. So I was surprised at this one because I might take the over, but he's gone for the Cowboys. Paul's Cowboys, not Byron's anymore. Cowboys are the Falcons, and it's 52. So
he's gone for what here? The under?
The under 52. I think I might go the over if I had to choose, just because of the strength of both these teams is their offenses, and both defenses have been putrid. Both defenses, and I don't think Cowboys are getting anyone back. Are they getting, is Bland coming back for the game, or is he gonna?
He's been activated off IR, but I don't think he'll be back for the game.
Yes, I was surprised, but I'm guessing 52 is a high number. What do you think this game's? Are the Cowboys gonna, get back in the win zone? No. They do like it away from home, but you're not fancying their chances.
No, I think I don't think they've much chance at all, I must say. Every week I'm kind of, I'm not going to say more and more disappointed in them, just like, they're just, because again, like, going into the season, I didn't think there were anything to write home about. And as time goes on, I just feel kind of more and more that way. Just not a competitive team. You know, they don't compete. They're soft on defense. They're terrible against the run. Actually, I had some stats for this game. I put them on my phone because I wasn't on my laptop. The Cowboys are on pace to have the fewest 80 or fewer yards rushing games in a season. They currently have 4 through 8 games. The worst in NFL history is 6 in a season. That was the 2000 Cleveland Browns. That was the first year the Cleveland Browns been a franchise again. So an expansion team. And in all 4 of those games, the Cowboys have allowed 180 total rushing yards from their opponents. So on 4 different occasions, they've rushed, in only 7 games, they've had 70 or fewer yards rushing and allowed 180 or more on the other side of the ball. Does that sound like a team who's going to start turning it around?
Yeah, I've actually led the Cowboys, and we'll see. Obviously, when we go for our picks, again, I think it's like they need it, and I think Dak's going to have a lot of time, and I think if Dak gets time, he can still do damage. And I just don't think this Falcons defense is up to snuff. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be. It could come down to a kick at the end, and which kicker do I prefer?
Yeah,
that's one of the options, and I think the Cowboys are one of the highest to try to put pressure on the quarterback. So, and that's what Kirk Cousins is. Not great at, but with all the injuries, that's obviously gone down the last few weeks. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game. But Paul's gone for the under, and he's been on a hot streak, so can't really go against him. So Byron, you're up with the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah, I'll take my underdog. I will go Chicago Bears +1. Tempted by Thursday Night Football, but I always hate picking Thursday Night Football for the 4th fold because then I have to put a free fold on Friday when I inevitably get let down on Thursday Night Football. I love the Texans as an underdog, but yeah, I'll go with the Bears +1. They are on the road going into Arizona, and I believe, if I read this right, the Bears have had the easiest schedule in the NFL so far per ESPN, and the Cardinals have had the hardest schedule in the NFL so far per ESPN once again. And despite that, you know, their record is basically the same. The Cardinals are 4-3, 4-4. Sorry, the Bears are 4-3. So both 4-win teams through 8. But I kind of just think the Bears are a better team. I think Kyler Murray might get, not going to say found out, but they're a good passing defense who might bait Murray into some throws that he shouldn't be making. Murray is very confident, but he does have ups and downs in his game. And yeah, I think this could be a really good rushing game for both offenses. Swift's been playing really well. James Conner's been playing, top 5 running back in the league, maybe top 10. There's been a lot of good running backs this year, but he's playing really well anyway. Anyone who took James Conner in fantasy is once again laughing to the bank because every year he's underrated and every year he just balls out, certainly through the first half of the year. And he's someone I'm not a fantasy show, but he's someone I might even look at like trying to trade for because they're meant to have, I think they're due to have the easiest schedule the rest of the way, the Cardinals, or certainly one of them, based on strength of schedule right now. So, bodes well for James Conner's future, as long as he can stay healthy. But yeah, I just think, again, Bears need a get-right game after last week. Absolutely humiliating way to lose a game. Tyreek Stevenson of it all, obviously. Never mind just the Hail Maryland in itself. But actually having a player embarrass himself that much. Yeah. So I'm going to Bears anyway. You're on mute, Joe. And I'm not a very good lip reader. He's still on mute.
Sorry, mate. I think it's a big game for the for Caleb Williams as well. Because I think he had all the praise for like the 2 weeks, like the one in London, the 1 week before. But I don't think he had a great game against the Commanders. I know the Commanders' defense is playing a lot better than what people expected. But yeah, he didn't show much. And I think when you actually look at some of his stats, they're not great. Obviously, he's a rookie, so you got to got to take that into consideration. But this is a Cardinals defense which is very up and down, but you can get them. So I think it's a big game for him to show the progression. And the Bears in general, can they do this? And can there be a team which checks? I think if they lose this, then it's like they're probably out that NFC North race.
Yeah.
Just because because if they lost this, I'd be like, they're probably the 4th best team in that division. Obviously, they've got to play everyone. in that division, and that puts it in their hands. But I don't think they're as good as them. But on the flip side, the Cardinals have won the last 2 games on a walk-off field goal, and they've impressed, more than I expected. And they keep coming back with these like big deficits. I think it was 10 against the 49ers. I think they were down 10 against the Dolphins. Obviously beat the Chargers. So they've got that belief, and they're playing a lot better than I expected. So I think it's a close game. We've all gone the Bears. So I don't know if that's an omen for you, Byron. But
I wish I'd seen that. And what have I got on my favourites list here? Can I wait for my favourite or not? Who have we got? Maybe not. So I'm going to go New Orleans Saints, 7.5 point favourites on the road against the Carolina Panthers. 7.5. I don't know if I said the number there for you or not. Derek Carr due to be back this week. He's been limited in practice, but sounds like he's going to be back. And I just want to get the Derek Carr quote up. I don't know if you've seen this one, but I absolutely loved it because it's Derek Carr saying it. And, it's a bit of an odd cat, is Derek Carr. He has his moments, but he told reporters yesterday. Sorry, hang on. There's a longer quote here than I expected. Where is it? Let me just do the long blurb here because I didn't see this until now. I am no savior, Carr told reporters Wednesday, before paying respect to his Lord and Savior. There's only been one of those, it is not me. I am here to be a great leader and to be a great teammate and do the job to my best ability. Do I feel confident in what I can do? Absolutely. I feel confident in what I can do. I feel confident in what I can bring to our team. And exciting. But to save us or anything like that, that's not me. Which isn't really the thing I was hoping to see from when I picked him as a 7.5 point favourite. But here we go. When I get back, I'm going to be a psychopath. That's more what I want. I'm going to be crazy about details and everything because we only get one shot. It sounds like he's going to be Jameis.
I was just about to say, is he seen Jameis? And he's like, I've got to do it, but he's just like the vanilla Jameis, basically. That he just he hasn't got that passion or that all that kind of stuff. But
I don't have promises or anything of that. I'll promise great effort and promise long nights and early mornings to make sure we are at our best. But I just like the idea of a quarterback coming out and calling himself a psychopath. Don't get enough of it. And I think the same.
Derek Carr.
He's an odd fella, Derek Carr. I think his heart's generally in the right place, but his brain sometimes different location. I just like the Saints a lot in this game, and more to the point, the Panthers are woeful. Back to Bryce Young. Jalen Coker's been a bit of a bright spot the last couple of weeks as a wide receiver for the Panthers, but I just think they have so little going for them. Even over a touchdown, and the Saints haven't been good. I think the Saints is a get-right game for them, and I think it has to be, because if not, I think there might be a mutiny in New Orleans.
I was just about to say, if they lose this game, that's a fireable offense right there. Because I think it was the Falcons last year who lost to the Panthers near the end, and we felt like, okay, Arthur Smith's done now. So if that happens, I like this one. I'm curious if the line will go out a little bit more with the Carr news, if it keeps going. I think it would have been probably like just about 5 even if it was Spencer Rattler. And they've got some good, like Olave's back, Taysom Hill's back. So I think it's certainly for the Saints. And I'd be curious because I think because they've lost the last 6 and everyone's been like, well, they haven't had the quarterback, they've had a lot of injuries and all this. But if you lay an absolute egg to the Panthers, then it's not just a quarterback. So we'll see what they do. Obviously, the first game they played, they absolutely smoked the Panthers 47-10. Yeah. Obviously, that was with Shaheed, who would be nice if he was still there for tell Derek. But I think and I'd be curious because I think Brooks is out is training again. So I wonder if he
practiced last 2 days. So
so I wonder
it'd be great to see him. Definitely. I don't know if it'll be this week, but it'd be really good to see him play.
Yeah, and like I said, Bryce Young is playing again. Not Andy Dalton, but I think he's fit enough to back him up. So we'll see how that experiment goes. So Paul's up next. So he would like an over. So the over he is going for is the Chargers at Browns at over 47, which again, I think I'm probably going to be the opposite if I had to choose. Just because
it's 43 on our sheet, by the way. I don't know if that's been updated.
You know what? You are right. So that's why he's probably gone for that one. 43 is a lot better number. So that makes it a lot higher. Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think what the Chargers do well is suffocate quarterbacks a lot of the time, and the that defense is step to which I didn't expect, just with the talent they had, like how it was last year and how it's actually what it's playing towards. It's a good. I think Jameis is a very streaky quarterback, and everyone's going crazy about him just for that one game, but he did throw quite a few interception balls, and I don't know if he can carry that on throughout the season. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and like the Chargers, and it's not like the Chargers, this offense where you're scared of it. It can be very a boring kind of game where this is like 18-10 or something like that, with lots of running and not much going on. But one big thing, obviously, I'm guessing Paul's hoping for Lad McConkey to carry on what he's doing, because he's had a few good games. He seems to be then his number one target. So yeah,
I love Lad McConkey. He's really impressed me last few games.
Yes, that's Paul's over. So it comes back to me. I've got 2 picks. I've got an underdog. Yeah, I should have got the Bears first, but I'm going to go the Commanders. I think I'm going to go my under. It's going to be close. Oh, what do I want to go? There's a few. There's that one where I really want to go for it, but it just feels wrong. I'm going to do it. I think the Lions and Packers is under 48.
It was on my list.
Yeah, I just think with it raining, being outside, I think it's going to be a run-heavy game where a lot of the clock gets drained, and it's going to be a tight game where either team doesn't want to lose it. I think obviously the Lions will be a bit more aggressive because that's Dan Campbell's nature, but I feel like it's going to be a kind of game where you don't want to make mistakes, so there'll be a bit because it is such a big game, and being in Lambeau, being outside, I don't think. So I think it's going to be a low 20s game. I was hoping it was like around low 50s. I'm curious if that'll go up if Jordan Love gets to become the quarterback. If we like sneak up to more like a 50 rather than a 48.
I'd expect it to, but I'm not really sure Jordan Love's going to play, truthfully. So, but yeah, this is on my list for the same exact reasons. I think, we've already covered it in the preview, but run heavy game. Yeah, just kind of how I feel it as well.
Cool. I'm going to go an over next. I'll leave my underdog to the end. There's a few overs I like. I don't want to go against Paul at Cowboys Falcons. No, I'm going to go Rams Seahawks. Rams Seahawks is going to be my over. I think it's going to be again another fun game. I think both defenses is probably their weakness, and how the Rams looked the other night with their offense firing again. I think they're going to be able to score on this Seahawks and the Seahawks defense. The Rams defense has looked better, but again, it's still not one of the best. One of the best offenses, and even with the mistakes last week, the Seahawks did. I think it was close to the over just because how many Bills put up. So I expect the Seahawks to tighten that kind of stuff up. I know it's 48.5, which is slightly higher than I would want, but I just think both teams' offenses is their strength. So I'm expecting points in this game.
Yeah, I can see it. It was kind of on my long list of overs here because, it should be a shootout. And DK Metcalf expected back for Seattle. Mike McDonald keeps saying how optimistic he is that he'll play. So, seems like a good shout.
So we move on to Paul. So underdog. What would he prefer? Prefer his dog. So his top dog is the New England Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans, which both of us have gone the Titans, but I did not like putting the Titans at -3. It felt wrong.
100%.
And I actually don't know why that the favorites with how the Patriots. But saying that, the Patriots didn't play that well last week and still somehow won. It was like, obviously we did the stat where it was like the first time in 750 games where they somehow beat the Jets with all them categories.
Yeah.
I think the Titans, I'm hoping, I don't know if you're similar, I'm hoping that it is Mason Rudolph playing over Levis. Which sounds like it is at the minute, but there's still a chance that Levis could play. But even if I think Levis plays, I'd probably mind still lean the Titans just because I think they've probably got I think their defense is still a good defense. I think it's given up a little bit the last few weeks, but they've been playing against top teams, and the Patriots aren't that team. So I can see the Titans winning, and how Ridley played and how they started the game. I think it's I've got the Titans covering, but I wouldn't be surprised as well if the Patriots did win, just because this Titans team has been abysmal. And it's this is one of the scary, horrible games we talked about where, I think in our power ranking we've got them 31st and 28th, so not a fun game. I don't think I'll be sticking that one on to watch.
No, that'll be a last viewing, I think. That's be a lot going wrong for that to be the viewing of choice, certainly. So, yeah. I'm going to stick with this game. I'm going to take it as my under 38, which is a low number. But I don't always love taking those. But in the Titans' last 10 home games as favourites, it's hit the under 8 times. They have a better defense and offense. I think you could probably say about the same as the Patriots, especially with Jacoby Brissett starting.
Yeah, but I think May cleared stage 3 of the concussion today or yesterday, and what I've heard is that usually means they probably will play, but who knows with concussions and stuff.
Yeah, so obviously no guarantee, but I think you're looking at an ugly game. I've kind of just touched on it with the underdog take in itself, but I don't have much in the way of excitement for it, certainly. Might be a good Tony Pollard game, but bitten by that with Breece Hall last week, actually, so probably won't be touching Tony Pollard too much in fantasy unless I have him on a roster. I have to start him. And then for my over of the week, I am going to go a game we've already talked about. I'm going to go Ravens Broncos 45.5 over. Ravens 4-0 over their last 4 home games as a heavy favourite. I just think they're going to come out slinging it and pushing it downfield. Sorry, not necessarily always slinging it. Sorry, with Lamar, with Derrick Henry and slinging it. Sorry, I just think they've got so much offensively that even Denver's good defense is going to struggle to keep them contained, and there's going to be enough. I don't necessarily think Bo Nix is, as I say, I have the Ravens covering 9.5, but I think Bo Nix is going to have enough to maybe get to 17 points, 20 points to keep it ticking up and keep the Ravens' foot on the gas. I don't think the Ravens, after the Dallas game, are interested in, seeing games out. I think they're interested in blowing teams away and getting Lamar his 3rd MVP.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I did struggle with that one. We've already talked about it, just the defenses. I wonder if they'll step up, but the Ravens do feel like they score quite a lot each game. So Paul is left with his favourite. So it's a game. So he would have gone Commanders, but that's gone. He's gone the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins, which makes a lot of sense since Miami never beats the Bills whenever.
Yeah.
I think Sean McDermott's got like the best record against like another team than everyone else. It's like crazy stats like that where it happens. Obviously, Tua being back last week, it looked better in the first half, but again, they still lost to the Cardinals. And I think I'm in agreement. What's the line? 6 points. We've all gone the Bills. I don't think the Bills are going to win. And it being outside and all that, the standard tropes with the Dolphins. I can see it being closer than I expect, but I just think the Bills have got too much, and I think how they played last week, I think it proved a lot. It proved a lot of things to me because I always felt like they were a good team, but can they like beat other good teams? And I don't think the Seattle's amazing, but I still think they're a good team and could make the playoffs, and they absolutely destroyed them. I think at the second half when they were running all over them, when they even this like, it was so obvious it was going to be a run, and they still did what they wanted to. And with the addition of Cup and Shakir coming back, I think it's I think it's big for them, and I do expect them to win. So that's good shout, Paul.
They absolutely obliterated the Dolphins in the first game as well before Tua got injured. So, no reason to not doubt this. I did have noticed one weird little anomaly with this game. When the Bills have been favored by 6 at home against Miami, they're 1-5-1 against the spread, which shook me because when they're favored by less than that, they are absolutely dominant against the Dolphins. They are 5-2 in that period, but yeah.
I wonder if it's that thing where we talked about the Bills last week where we were a bit worried. I think me and Paul may have gone against them that they do fanny around at home. Where they just don't just destroy a team when it's like where they're clearly the better team, and then suddenly the drive in the last few minutes like down somehow, and you're like, how the hell has this happened? They'll let teams like stay around. So I'm not shocked, but I expect them to win, and I'm curious if the Bills blow out the Dolphins, is that like Mike McDonald basically out for the end of the year? Just because if you can't beat your division rival, who's probably going to be good for the next few years with Josh Allen, is not looking good for him.
I'm curious about it. The GM, I think, has had a longer time of it in Miami than Mike McDaniel. I think it really depends how they close the season rather than necessarily like the one game, but it certainly would leave a really, really bad taste. And I think he's someone who's don't seem to see much in the media about him being on a hot seat. So maybe we're just overreacting, but it feels like he should be because like it's been embarrassing this year. And like you said, they always get beat by the Bills. So like at what point do you say it's not going to work here, mate? Sorry. Get back to the West Coast.
Yeah. That makes sense. I agree. Cool. So it's my last. I've got the last pick, and I've got underdog. This is a tricky one because I've got a few underdogs, but a few of the big ones, the Bucks, the Broncos, which I'm not too super confident. I've got the Packers, but I'm not huge with the quarterback. So you know what? I'm going to go with yours and Paul's team. I don't know. I just believe in the Cowboys this week. I'm going to go Cowboys plus 2.5. I just feel like the Cowboys need it. Again, it's one of them games where there's obviously some reason why I'm choosing it, but it feels like the Cowboys need this game a lot more than the Falcons. And I think both defenses are not good. The Falcons can't pressure anyone. Their line is, where's Judon gone? Like, why did you, he's not really worth what they traded for him. But so with Dak having time and him and CeeDee, obviously it was garbage time. They still managed to come back, but they still managed to put plenty of yards up. So I think it's going to be a lot of throwing yards. Obviously, I think the Falcons are going to do the same. I think it's going to be one of them weird games where the Falcons run all over the Cowboys and get them through the air, and the Cowboys are just going to feel like they're going to throw it because they can't run to save their life. So, I've just got the Cowboys. I think it's going to be a close game, and I just trust Aubrey over Young Waku.
So. Understandable. You've got 3 winning football, do you? So
there you go. So let's go to the Cowboys away 2.5. So yes, I don't know if you just want to run through yours and Paul's, and while I'm just doing the last bit.
Absolutely. So Paul's gone. His favorite is the Bills over the Dolphins plus -6. Patriots as the underdog going Tennessee plus 3 points. Chargers at Cleveland Browns over 43 points, and Cowboys Falcons under 52 points in Atlanta. I've taken my favorite is the Saints at Carolina, 7.5 point favorites. Bears 1 point underdogs going into Arizona. Arizona Cardinals did start as a Chicago Cardinals as well. Fun fact, so a bit of a Chicago revenge game there. Patriots at Titans under 38 points, which I'm already feeling nervous about. Just it's such a low number. And Broncos at Ravens over 46.5 points.
Awesome. So yours has come as a +1228. Paul's is 1291. And mine, I've got the Commanders -3 against the Giants. The Lions Packers under 48. Rams Seahawks over 48.5. And the Cowboys +2.5 at the Falcons. And mine comes at 1258. And we'll be hearing Brendon's picks at the end of the show with Byron to chat all things Raiders and fantasy and everything else he's got going. Let's move on to the ATS, where both seem to be doing decent. I think Paul's picked it up the last few weeks. So we'll quickly run through these because we probably spoke about most games. Me and Paul, for some reason, have got the Jets, while you've got the Texans tonight. Me and Paul's gone the Cowboys. Byron is on the Falcons. Byron's on his own again for the
graphic on, by the way.
Cheers, Byron. I was looking at having two screens doesn't help.
Yeah.
So Byron's gone solo again he's gone the Ravens at +9.5, while me and Paul's gone the Broncos. All on the Chargers -2. All on the Bengals -7.5. All on the Bills -6. Paul's on his own, but with New England at +3. While we've gone Tennessee. All on the Saints. All on the Commanders. All on the Bears. All on the Eagles. I've gone the Packers while you've gone the Lions. You've gone solo again with the Seahawks, while me and Paul's gone the Rams. Me and you've got the Vikings, and Paul's got the Colts. And finally, you're on the own again with the Chiefs, while we've got the Bucks. So I guess the only games we didn't cover really was the Raiders, Bengals, and Jags, Eagles. Have you got much comment on them games, or you just see, because we've all gone Bengals or Eagles as big favourites?
I think for me, the Bengals need to win at home. Like, that's kind of just all I've gone with. I think T. Higgins is going to be back. I think he was limited. He didn't practice yesterday, but I think he was limited in practice today, which points towards him getting ready for Sunday. I think the Raiders are just kind of a mess. And I don't think the Bengals are going to be competing for anything this year, but I do think that they're going to get better than what they've shown. And I just think this is I do wish it was a little lower. Obviously, I wish, 5.5 I'd be much happier with. 7.5 does feel like a lot. I was kind of surprised we were all three on the Bengals, but I don't have any big takeaway. More just I think it's a bit of a get right.
Yeah, I'm similar, and just with the Raiders being up and down, the Bengals need it. Similar. Well, for the Eagles, I just think last week they showed something which I hadn't seen this year, and they actually looked to turn into a good team. And the Jags have just got so many injuries, obviously with Kirk being out, and it being up in the air. With the rest of the team, with what's the other wide receiver, the rookie?
Who are we talking?
The Jags.
Oh, Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas. There you go. I knew he was like a standard first name pick yet. With him being not 100% and maybe not playing, but I just think the Jags have got not much, and obviously and getting rid of Cam Robinson, it feels like they're on a selling path, and I feel like the Eagles are gonna run all of them and put some points up.
And hopefully on the first playing really well. The last month of the season, after a bit of an up and down start, certainly. He's obviously running the ball really well, but I think he's been playing pretty well. Period. I'm not sure if he's running an interception the last few weeks, and he's normally good for one. But I think the Eagles are in a good spot right now.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can score in the first quarter, which they haven't done all year, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Right, let's quickly talk about our Fantasy Game Day picks this week. We'll just, as always, sign up if you're in the UK. It's a great way to place. It's awesome. I do wish he was over here. I know me and Byron are always jealous that we can't do it. But if you do sign up, use a promo cover, and you get once you play once, you get an extra game. So you basically get another chance to either to win or to play the week after, and that's awesome. So let's do quarterbacks first. We'll go for Paul. So he's got Jalen Hurts, which we mentioned, 6,400. Who, I think he's gonna have a big game against this Jacksonville defense, which is not amazing. I've gone for Stafford against the Seahawks, just with the price being at 4,800. Obviously, he didn't start the year well, but now he's got his main two guys. He suddenly just put the points up, and at that price, I think he might be a good shout with how the Seahawks have been playing.
Yeah, agreed. I was really tempted by Stafford and Hurts, truthfully, but you guys got your listing before me. Stafford, especially at 4,800, feels like a bit of a cheat code this week, maybe, especially if you want to double up Puka and Cup and just go all in. Jacksonville have actually given up the most quarterback one games in the league. They've given up 7 through 8 weeks. So yeah, Jalen Hurts in a good spot. I've gone Joe Burrow against Vegas. Again, I just kind of think it's a get right game. Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. And yeah, their running game has really slowed down the Bengals. So I think it's going to be an area out game the rest of the season, basically. So yeah, I think you can throw on the Raiders, and they will do.
Yeah, we'll move on to Paul's. So, well, he's done a cheat again, like I think what you did, Byron. So his wide receiver is classified as Mark Andrews, who's technically a tight end, but I'm guessing he's going for the wide receiver points. So he's got him at 3,600 versus Denver. I think he's picked up the last few weeks. He's taken some of the targets, what likely was, and he's actually looking. He's not his old self, but yeah, and we'll see what happens now. They've got Deontay Johnson. If he slows down a little bit, but at that price, you can't complain. I've gone for Devontae Smith, similar to with the Hurts. I think it's going to be a big game, and obviously AJ Brown is the main wide receiver. But I just like the price at 5,600 that Devontae could have a big game and score plenty of points.
Yeah, I think he's kind of due as well. Like I know he scored a touchdown last week, but I don't think he's had those monster games that he had last year with Jalen Hurts. And I love watching Devontae Smith. I think he can exploit a defense like Jacksonville's no problem at all. And I also think it's worth reminding as well in fantasy game day is PPR scoring, which I think benefits someone like Devontae Smith. And moving on to my pick here, Lad McConkey as well, who they just get open so easily, it feels like. And they just rack up targets, rack up receptions. I've seen it. I feel like I shout this guy out every week or every other week on our show. I've gone Lad McConkey at 5,400 at Cleveland. Jacob Gibbs, who writes for CBS, has a great free newsletter. Don't know if it's daily or every couple of days, but it's always a good read. Lad McConkey has caught 75% of his targets versus cover 1. Only AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson have been more efficient. And the Browns are number 1 in running cover 1 usage. Yeah, so I just think that matchup pairs really well. Lad McConkey's been playing like one of the best rookies in football the last few weeks, certainly rookie wide receivers. Justin Herbert obviously season was his number 1 already. And that pass rate is actually creeping up for the Chargers, considering I think where we thought it would be, which is going to be like Justin Herbert will throw it 2 times a game, and they're just going to run it 50 times. It's actually getting to be not vintage Justin Herbert, but he's playing really well, and he's throwing it more than we anticipated. So, yeah, I think Lad McConkey's in for a really big week this week.
Yeah, I'll let you finish off with your team.
Cool. So, yeah, my running back. Truthfully, yeah, you stole my running back. I was going to go Tyler Algier, 3,200. Sorry, I've just ruined who yours is there. But yeah, I think you're going to run all over the Cowboys. So that's who I literally started writing it, and I looked and I was like, oh, Joe. But what I have went for is Tyrone Tracy at 3,600, who is absolutely explosive. He's going through the concussion protocol, which is why he's 3,600. I think Devin Singletary is priced more than him, which I do not understand. He went over 100 yards against the Steelers on Monday, which is where he got his concussion. But yeah, it's his second year playing running back. He was a wide receiver in college for the majority, and he's just absolute liquid. Washington, I've got the defense been playing better than we anticipated, but it's not, it's not the Steelers. And like I say, he went for over a ton on Pittsburgh on Monday. I just think it pains me to say it because I love Malik Neighbors, but I think he might have to be the heartbeat of this offense when the O-line's like it is, because Daniel Jones isn't going to get enough time to throw the ball. So yeah, I think at 3,600, he might be in a sneaky misprice this week because of the injury. Like I said, Devin Singletary is priced higher than him, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it's because he's in concussion protocol, so I do see the reasoning. I would just bake in that he might play higher. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So
you go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I just obviously you mentioned mine with being Algier. I think they're going to run all of the Cowboys. I'm tempted by going Bijan as well, maybe as a captain. Yeah, I think both of these they're good through the tackle, and when you're playing the Cowboys, who it's a while until someone actually lays hands on running backs. They could have huge games. So 3,200 Algier was my pick. And finally, Paul's he's gone for an expensive one. He's gone for the Rams running back Williams at 7,600, who are at Seattle. I don't mind it. I think they're going to lean heavily. It feels like they do against when they play this Seahawks. I'm guessing he would have had a great stat about Kyron Williams. I feel like he always goes nuts against the Seahawks. But 7,600, and obviously with the two weapons now, defensive have got to take into account covering them, which will leave a lot more gaps. Kyron Williams, and I think that would have been one of the most expensive. So you would have to work a few players around, but good choice, Paul. So that's it for our Week 9 preview of the games. We are going to throw it over to Byron, who is joined by Brendon from Fantasy Sports Advice Network, and also works for Undroppables and Player Profiler. As always, remember to follow us on all the social medias on Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok. Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover on YouTube, and then GTW_GTC on the rest of them. And we'll throw it over to you, Byron, to chat to Brendon. See you on Thursday.
On as our guest, Brendon is a prolific Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover guest. He's on Undroppables, Player Profiler, everywhere in between. I think that's about right, yeah?
Yeah, Fantasy Football Advice Network and Fantasy Football Plus.
Wonderful. Always busy, always working. We love having Brendon on, one of our favorite guests. Representing the Raiders, who
always
aren't going great.
Depends on how you look at it. If you want a high draft pick, things are going swimmingly.
Yeah, so might not be guarding them into an AOC next year. This year's been a bit of a bummer, I guess. Any big takeaways on the season, or just
thank goodness for Brock Bowers, right?
I love Brock Bowers.
This has been a year. I had a show a couple weeks about it, and analogized it to a house of cards, and it was you pulled one card back in the spring and it's just crumbled ever since then, and nothing that we expected to happen except for the emergence of Brock Bowers has happened. The team isn't as good as we thought they were going to be. They went with Gardner Minshew as the starter and not Aiden O'Connell, which we thought. Devontae Adams was supposed to be back. We thought that was going to happen. Michael Mayer's gone from the team. The defense was supposed to be shored up by Christian Wilkins, who's now out for the season. Jacorian Bennett did take a step up as a defensive back. That's been great. They've been slightly underrated. They're still giving up a whole lot of points, but as far as doing your job as a defensive player, the defense has been pretty good.
Yeah.
But like Telesco he made really good personnel decisions.
Yeah.
Except for hiring Luke Getsy, who hasn't done a good job play calling. We lost to Carolina in a trap game, which just kind of sent us reeling, especially coming off the Ravens win. It's just been a Halloween theme. It's been a house of horrors these last 9 weeks. So
like you said, onwards and upwards for the draft. And Shawnee can hit a first round draft pick at least, because Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football.
Yes. Yeah. And we're gonna have probably a top 5 pick, which means that we're grabbing a quarterback. And I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more from the Devontae Adams trade, just to kind of package something up in case we needed to jump up higher. But I also wouldn't be sad about trading out, maybe picking up a top flight wide receiver and then grabbing like a lesser quarterback like Carson Beck or Jackson Dart way later on, and see what we can do that way. But I'll leave it to Tom Telesco at this point. I trust him now. But yeah, it's been a shit show.
That is to the point and accurate. Yes, indeed. So moving on from the Raiders, we'll get on to our fourth world. Hopefully brighter and better than the Vegas season has been so far.
Yeah.
So we will start with your favorite for the week, Brendon. Who have you got?
My favorite is the Rams over the Seahawks. The Rams are 2-point favorites, and I like that play. They've been underrated. They have a couple of nice wins. The Seahawks defense hasn't really been playing to the level that we expected them to. Yeah. So a lot of things can happen. Sean McVay is an excellent game planner, especially within division, and they get Puka and Nakua back. Stafford looks like he's back as well.
Yeah.
I think the Rams and that line, I mean, it's low enough that I can take them as a favorite.
Yeah, I definitely get that. The Rams, I think, were our biggest riser. We started doing weekly power rankings, just on our Insta and Twitter, etc. And they rose by 7 places just on last week's performance and result. Because getting Kupp, Nakua, and like you said, Stafford looking like Stafford again it's huge. I mean, they could still win that division. Every team's got 4 losses in the division. It's very
crazy.
Yeah, it's exactly what the NFL wants, I think. Parity, and that division certainly has it. The Rams were my preseason pick for that division. I'd kind of given up on that. But
yes, Seattle was mine. I've given up on that too.
Yeah, I mean, I had 3 teams from this division making the playoffs, which I don't think is going to happen.
Same.
Yeah, and the Seahawks kind of like my little pet team because I knew the Cowboys were going to be bad, and I love Geno Smith. So I thought, the Seahawks are going to be good this year, but they're so hot and cold. They can have really good games, but I mean, we just seen on Sunday the Bills just took the lunch money. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rams beat them here, because Seahawks at home have been poor as well, surprisingly. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great NFC West matchup, and I like the pick.
Thanks.
Yeah. Who's your underdog of the week?
Spoiler alert. I can't be on the show and not talk about the Raiders more. My underdog pick is the Raiders. They are plus 7.5 at this point. They're going into Cincinnati. Cincinnati does not have a win at home. Yep. Joe Burrow hasn't looked great. T. Higgins has been really, really hurting. Like I said, the Raiders defense can do a lot to hold Cincinnati down, and it's a big line. So I'm not saying the Raiders are going to win. It's not a pick 'em, but I'm taking the Raiders on the points.
Love it. Yeah. Bengals have been Paul I'll call him out because he's not on the show. Paul's had the Bengals like in his top 10. He doesn't right now. I will give him that. At least he has finally moved them down. And as a group, we have them at 20 now. But we always want to believe in them. They were actually, the Rams were up 7. They were down 7 this week because it was just kind of too much now. It's like, we keep giving them chances because it's Joe Burrow. He'll get things right. He'll get it right. And it's just, it feels like a bit of a dead season for the Bengals. I think T. Higgins' contract year as well. And this isn't how you want a contract year to go.
One of their problems has been dealing with the backfield of Zach Moss and Chase Brown. It's been obvious that Chase Brown is the efficient guy and he's the guy that should be getting the ball.
Yep.
And Zach Moss has been absolutely horrific.
Yep.
But they keep going. They keep going with him. And I think you're when you look at whether or not a team is going to win a game, you want to start with the quarterback. So you got Burrow versus Minshew. Obviously, Burrow takes it in that regard. Their backfields are equally disastrous and horrible. Their offensive lines are equally disastrous and horrible. They both give up a lot of big plays. I think they're more equal than we think. But I still feel like the Raiders can keep it. You can't say the Raiders only lost by a touchdown to the Chiefs in a divisional game, and so that means that they should stay. It's not that. It's just that it's a big line, and they should be able to score enough to keep it closer.
Yeah, I definitely see it. And the thing that every week annoys me with the Bengals can't tackle. It annoys me might be the wrong word, but I just hate seeing these teams who are so fundamentally poor.
Yeah.
And I'm a Cowboys fan, so I get to see a lot of that. Travion Diggs trying to tackle with his shoulders. I don't mean head and shoulders. I mean like diving tackles with his shoulder. Little visual aid there on YouTube if you're watching. It's infuriating. Just take people out low. It's fine. You might get hurt, but you're a football player. You will get hurt. And the Bengals they were terrible in week 1, terrible in week 2. They've got a little better, but they just cannot stop tackles. And I mean, another bright spot for the Raiders this year has been Alexander Myerson, who, he's not a number 1 running back in the league, certainly, but I've been so impressed by him because a lot of people, I think, had thrown dirt on his grave, and he's not a superstar, but
he's been terrible. Granted, so has Zamir White. Nobody's been good, but Alexander Madison has been fool's gold. He has some touchdown upside on the fantasy side, but efficiency wise, he doesn't have it. He was 14 carries for 15 yards against the Chiefs. and he's been rough. It's been we hurt a lot by losing Jacobs. And you talk about the tackle thing. We were taught growing up playing football that, especially on defense, I was a linebacker in high school, and we were taught to target the hips, shoulder to the hips, and drive through. And you don't see a lot of that in the NFL. One of the things, and not to, this is a rabbit hole. We don't have to get into it. I'm just going to throw it out there real quick, though. The shortened camps, shortened training time has been an absolute disaster for injuries and for fundamental play in the NFL. And it helps scoring, so the owners are happy. But we can move on.
But no, you definitely see it. The fundamentals seem to be not the fundamentals right now. They seem to be an extra. But yeah, we will move on. So we have our over and under to we'll go over. That's more exciting.
My over score, I'm going with Tennessee and New England. It's such a low total. And especially with Mason Rudolph kind of emerging last week.
Yeah.
I think that Ramondre and Drake May can do enough along with Tennessee. This could turn into a shootout really easily.
Yeah.
Tennessee has a very good defense, so that might be what's keeping the total low. But if something happens, if Drake May uses legs and New England gets an early lead, it could turn into a shootout real easily and just soar past that projected line.
Yeah, I think that's easily doable, to be fair. Like you say, the Titans under Mason Rudolph, it's weird how much better they look than they did with Will Levis, which...
It's weird how much better Mason Rudolph looked than with the Steelers.
Yeah. And I mean, Calvin Ridley, last week, my word. You know, you lose Nuke Hopkins, and all of a sudden Calvin Ridley is Calvin Johnson. I do not understand. I'm not going to try and pretend to understand everything that happens in football. The Mason Rudolph, Calvin Ridley led Tennessee Titans putting up yardage and points at anybody's where it is.
Yeah.
A confusing one to me. So,
and Tony Pollard is resurrected as well. So which is weird.
It is, but I love to see it. He was a really good running back for the Cowboys, and
you can say that about Rico Dowdle in a couple of years somewhere else too.
Maybe. He certainly deserves more run than he gets with the Cowboys. So. Yeah. And I've been preaching that since week 1 of this season, where, it's like, oh, should we drag the corpse of Dalvin Cook and Zeke Elliott out again? It's like, no, how about we give the guy who can actually run a little bit a break? It's like, no, he's ill.
I think Dowdle is in the top. I'm going to say top 10 concrete, but I'm thinking top 5 in EPA per play for running backs.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's good, especially, the struggles that they've had
on this team. Yeah.
He's been good.
Yeah. Just doesn't have the right name, I guess. Jerry Jones doesn't know him from 6 years ago, so he's screwed.
Yeah. Don't talk about Jerry Jones.
I'd rather not. But we will talk about your under of the week. Let's go. Last one.
All right. My under is going to be Atlanta and the Cowboys.
There we go.
I think that's a pretty high line. It could very, very easily shoot over as well. But I think that Atlanta is going to be able to control the ball. And, Atlanta tends to run up the score, and then Dallas is going to have to shoot it out to kind of get back in it. Yeah. But it's a really, really high total. And I think that just some emphasis on the run game can keep it low.
Totally agree. I actually just picked up Tyler Algier in a couple of emergency spot starts in leagues where I'm low. And for that exact reason, I think the Falcons are I think the Cowboys lose this game. And I think Algier might have one of those games where they hold off on pushing the ball downfield a lot and just kind of bully the Cowboys, because it's easy to do, really, sadly.
Talking about EPA per play for running backs, Algier is right there in the top 2.
Yeah, he's been so good this year. And it's really funny because I am someone who has Bijan in fantasy here and there. I took Breece Hall over Bijan in those spots where I had the choice, to be fair. I mean, they both had the ups and downs this year. But yeah, if you're a Bijan fantasy manager, it's not even like last year, because it felt like last year, Algier wasn't as good as Bijan and Arthur Smith was just being daft. This year, it just feels like, they're pretty comparable. Algier's playing really, really well. And, if they stick with the double-headed backfield next year, Algier is probably going to get himself a good job the year after, because he's proven that he can be a pretty all-purpose running back, and just nobody likes him because he's blocking out a generational talent.
Right. I was a heavy investor in 2022 in Algier and dynasty leagues, and one of the worst days of my life was the draft when the Falcons took Bijan Robinson, and because of that, I had a lot of Breece Hall shares too, and I have an unwarranted dislike for Bijan simply because he sunk all of my. So I root for him to do bad, and I have a hard time ranking him high. Like Breece Hall, I will overrank because I like him. Bijan, I will underrank because I don't. And so far, I've been pretty spot on this year. Well, last year on Breece Hall and this year on Bijan. So I know the talent's there, but that offense doesn't suit him, and so that he could have been the RB1, especially with Christian McCaffrey missing almost the entire year, if not the whole year, but not in that offense. Yeah,
and not with a running back 2 who produces just as well as he does.
Right. And Braylon Allen and Breece Hall is kind of the same. Now, Braylon Allen, I had pegged for the Cowboys to take as the first running back off the board in the 2024 draft. And I am still just completely flummoxed that did not happen. I don't understand how that just did not come to fruition. What were the Cowboys thinking? Braylon Allen should be the RB. I love Rico Dowdle, but Braylon Allen should be the running back in Dallas, period.
It's funny. I had, that was one of my preseason pre-draft bets, was not him to go to the Cowboys, but him to be the first running back drafted at 50-1. Because I couldn't believe it. He's the youngest player in the NFL. He's explosive. He'd be a great fit for Dallas. Was my choice for him to go to as well. Yeah, you just look at him and he jumps off the screen. And yeah, it still irks me again. Like I said, I had him at 50-1 to be the first running back drafted in an unspecial class. I thought, you can do it. Jonathan Brooks is probably going to be number 1, but with that injury, I would take Braylon Allen ahead of him just because you want instant rookie production. So yeah, it still irks me that didn't happen. And then Jerry, after day 1, gets up and talks about how much he loves Jonathan Brooks, and I mentioned Jerry Jones again. So let's just we'll stop right there. Can't go back to Jerry Jones. But yeah, I would love Braylon Allen in Dallas. I would love anybody who isn't Dalvin Cook or Zeke Elliott in Dallas, truthfully. Anybody under the age of 27.
Oh, dang. I was going to volunteer, but I'm over 27.
Well, Paul's been saying that he could get a sack on the Dallas O-line, so maybe it doesn't have to be such a strict age curve. We'll just get all our podcast friends and family on and take on the Dallas Cowboys one week.
I'll do it. As long as I can beat the 49ers, I'll do it.
Let's go. Well, you maybe not want to be on Dallas then. Grand. Well, cheers, Brendon. Good set of picks. I'm not sure if a guest has ever hit a 4-4, but I'm feeling pretty good about this one. So
I sure haven't.
So you're due. That's what we're saying. But yeah, this will come in at about 12 plus 1200, 12-1. So yeah, we'll make sure that we're back in that.
Okay.
And cool. That wraps up our show for today. Thank you, Brendon. Obviously, as always, go check out Brendon on Twitter. What we've got your Twitter as Big Bond Ed FFB.
Yes.
And like I say, you'll find Brendon somewhere basically every day doing something. Whether it's Player Profiler, Fantasy Sports Advice Network, Undroppables. Like I say, you'll see Brendon somewhere every day. It feels like the hardest mark in winning the business. So
if you are a fan of football, go to the Undroppables on YouTube. Go to the Undroppables channel. We have a designated content creator for almost every team at this point. We've almost got the whole league covered. We keep adding every couple weeks. And it's not fantasy related. It's straight up NFL news. And when you have the motivation of a fan driving the content, it just helps. And so it's not one guy. Like on Player Profiler, I do news for all 32 teams. On Undroppables, it's just the Raiders. Mike does just the Chiefs. Johnny does just the Broncos. Zach does just the Jaguars. Like it's really, really cool. A lot of really good shows, a lot of really good content creators. So go to the Undroppables and check that out. And thank you so much for having me on again, Byron, and everybody over there. I love doing the show. And a blessed Samhain to everybody.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, that wraps up our recording for the week. Thank you, Brendon.
Thanks.